Good evening and welcome to the 6 o'clock news with me, Tom Miller. Our top stories tonight. Scientists asked the question, why is Chloe Osborne quite so zesty? They've also now said they know how to switch off that deadly ginger gene. On to our more serious story now, WikiLeaks. What do the British public really know about the potential story of the decade? Sarah Lamb investigates. Sarah?
Well, the main thing that I'm not happy about in the WikiLeaks scandal is the way that as soon as Julian Assange finds something that could potentially hurt people in power, these magical rape charges appear. If they've been around for years and years and years, why have they just randomly come to a head now? And it looks quite dubious, so don't think that's fair at all. However, what he is doing is dangerous because he could bring down governments, he could bring down people who are doing good work. I don't have a problem with him revealing corruption, but not necessarily revealing one or two things that someone said that actually have very little consequence for a country and yet could still damage that person's career.
So what do you think the consequences will be of the WikiLeaks?
I think it will be all blown over. I don't think anything will happen.
Okay, so you don't think anything big at all is going to come out of it?
No, I don't know.
Okay, what do you think about the rape accusations facing
I
Assange?
think that is a load of rubbish. I think they're just accusing him of that because of the WikiLeaks situation.
Okay, so what do you think? Do you think there's a point to it, that he should be posting things online?
I don't think he should have released them at all. I think it's putting soldiers' lives at risk and people's lives at risk, and I don't think he should have done it. It's not really helping anyone at all, really, so I don't think he should have done it. There you go.
Come on.
Okay, what do I think of WikiLeaks? I think WikiLeaks provides a really valuable service, is not the right sort of word you can put. I think people have a right to information. I think that WikiLeaks do a very good job in terms of revealing things that people wouldn't under normal circumstances have access to, or information that they wouldn't have access to. I think that the charges that they're facing at the moment, or what's this guy's name? Assange, is it? I can't remember his name now. Is it Assange?
Yeah, Assange.
It's Assange, yeah.
Assange,
yes, I thought it was. But I mean, basically, this is, it's trumped up. At the end of the day, I think it's a conspiracy to get him. I think it's a conspiracy to try and get him extradited to the States because the Americans particularly would like to get hold of him. Although even if he did get hold of him, whether or not they'd be able to make any charges stick, because the sorts of charges that they're thinking of trying to get him for are ridiculous in their own right. I don't know. Good thing. I like WikiLeaks. It's all right. Anyway, how's that?
Thank you for that, Sarah. We also decided to interview some of the senior staff here at Natchball to get their views and opinions. We asked Mrs. Savage what she... We're here with our Deputy Head Teacher, Mrs. Savage, to ask her her opinion on the WikiLeaks scandal. Mrs. Savage, what do you think about the scandal?
Well, I feel very strongly that the security of countries should be taken seriously, and that actually it is outrageous that these documents are being leaked, and I think it needs to be tightened up and made criminal.
Do you think that Assange is actually giving the people a right to what they deserve to know, or do you think that it is literally that it's too high security information to be released?
In some cases, not all of it is necessarily too high security to be out there, but in other cases I think it is, and I think it is irresponsible, to be honest. I feel that laws about what can be kept secret and what can't be kept secret are there for a reason, and that should be respected. I think there are some things that have been put out that are just meaningless anyway. I think we can all live without knowing what so-and-so thought about Prince Andrew. It really doesn't matter. But where knowledge can be released in a way that could endanger people's lives, it's just irresponsible and shouldn't happen.
Who do you think is most at fault?
That's a heavy question, because is it society in general, in as much as we all have this desire to know everything and feel it's our right to know this and to know that, and there's a big cultural emphasis on people so desperate to protect their rights at all costs. And I think WikiLeaks would not be important if people didn't look at it, and people look at it, and people look at it because of the way society views things at the moment. So I think it's perhaps not fair to say it's this person's fault or that person's fault. I think it's just the way things are at the moment.
Finally, what do you think about the sexual assault charges facing Assange?
Well, the truth is, I don't know anything about it. I know that it exists, and I know that there's a big question mark as to whether it's legit or whether it's just a way of getting him. But I can't pass comment because I don't know whether it happened or not. I can't see why somebody would be trying to get him for a sexual assault charge unless there is something to be answered there. Again, it's this way of sort of society trying to sort of protect everybody's rights when maybe sometimes actually somebody's done wrong and needs to be punished.
Thank you very much. Finally, we decided to ask our head teacher, Miss Starb, what she thought. And now we turn to our headmistress, Miss Starb. Miss Starb, could you please tell us your opinion on these scandals?
It's another example, in my opinion, of where a topic is taken out of proportion, exaggerated in the media, to try and divert from more important political issues that are going on at the present time. I think it's a classic example of a moral panic, where somebody or some organisation, in this case WikiLeaks, are trying to create a situation where a large number of people believe that governments must not be trusted. Governments should never be trusted fully. It's the job of a democracy to query what governments say and do, their processes, their actions, their policies. But what's going on with WikiLeaks, in my opinion, is exactly that situation of a moral panic, where everything a government does is thrown into doubt, where its whole legitimacy is thrown into doubt, and where the processes by which decisions are made is seriously questioned. And I don't think that's right. When you consider the kind of information that's been published there would be a lot more of that going on an everyday basis about all sorts of topics in all sorts of areas, not just foreign affairs, not just defence. But it's in this context of a fear about national security in general that this will find a lot of favour with the public. So I think it's more self-gratifying for that organisation, what they're doing at the moment.
Do you think that Assange has a right, almost like a duty to the public, to be publishing what he's found, or do you think it should be kept secret if it's a matter of public security or to do with defence?
I think there are matters of public security that need to be protected, and that is effectively what citizens ask their governments to do. They are asking them to protect their national security. Now, to that effect, certain things are not made public, and that's been the case forever. Of course, in an age of growing media power and more extensive communication links, it's much easier to publicise supposed national secrets widely. It's also much harder for the general public to ascertain whether or not there is truth in that. We're bombarded with a lot of information, but we're not necessarily able to actually verify that. I do then question the capability of the general population to make an educated judgment on what's really going on. There is then much more focus on that feeling of moral panic. Our governments are betraying us, our governments are doing things that are beyond their remit, our governments are abusing their power. We are vesting power in governments by electing them, but they are elected, and so therefore they represent the people. And there will be lots of decisions made behind the scenes that are done in the best interest of the people, but that should not be made public so that they can't fall into other hostile governments' hands or enemies of the state's hands. It's not exactly helpful that exactly those themes are very often used in Hollywood productions to portray the threat to the state, and maybe that's the context in which the American reaction to that should be seen as well.
What are your opinions on the way that America has reacted to what's happened?
America has a huge focus on its national security, of course, since those September atrocities in 2001, even more so than ever before. National security is a major election theme every single time in America, and national security is a topic that will win or lose votes. So that has to be seen in that context. The Obama administration has got to make it clear that threats to national security must not be tolerated, especially in a context where Obama is, for all sorts of reasons, trying to withdraw American troops from Iraq, for example, trying to withdraw American troops from Afghanistan. So clearly the general public in America want to see a government that's strong on national security, and the rhetoric that comes with trying to make that clear will always be somewhat exaggerated.
Then finally, what do you think about the credibility of the sexual assault charges facing Assange?
I think it's rather peculiar and possibly fortuitous for the enemies of Assange and WikiLeaks and what they've been doing, that these charges should have come out at the time where he was maybe gaining an increasing amount of public sympathy for what he was doing, whether that was right or wrong, or whether it was threatening national security or not. People do like a good story about governments abusing their power, and at the same time they like a good story about sex scandals, and both sell really well. And so in that context, against that background, I have some doubts over the validity of those charges, clearly without information that the courts have accessible to them. You couldn't possibly make a judgment as to whether or not he was guilty of those. Clearly, if he has done something wrong, then he needs to be brought to justice, no matter what else he has done otherwise. But I think, again, it is not always helpful to publicise all these things so widely, because you then get into the field where you're asking yourself how impartial can the judiciary be in making judgments when somebody has been dragged through the media so badly and has been accused of attacking national security, threatening national security, attacking governments' legitimacy, etc. How partial can they then be in making a judgment on that person? So that raises quite a different angle as well. But I would have some doubts. It just seemed very peculiar that just all of a sudden this should come out. You then have to ask yourself almost the same question that WikiLeaks would pose to the public, which is how long had they already known about this accusation of the sex charges, and were they choosing to release it at that particular point in time? So,
thank you very much for your time. Back to the studio.